It's time for Aki's A-List. From the mind of the man who understands the 4 Ps of Waddle's world. Aki's A-List. The top questions and topics floating around in Tyler Aki's mind.
Are these really the questions that I was called here to answer?
Aki's A-List on ESPN Chicago.
All right, Tyler's got questions, and we'll try to provide the answers as we head into the weekend. What do you got for us, Tyler?
All right. The Houston Texans made an interesting move with Stefon Diggs. Obviously, they made the trade for him, but they've also restructured his contract that will allow him to become a free agent after next season. Now, when we get to next year's free agency, if the Bears cannot secure Keenan Allen to a long-term deal, would you want to go out and sign Stefon Diggs as a Keenan Allen replacement in 2025?
No, didn't want him this year. I didn't want him this year.
Too early to say yes for sure about that. Don't want him this year. Next year may be different because, let's say, Caleb Williams has a very good rookie season. Being a second-year quarterback is different than obviously being a rookie. I'd be maybe more open to it at that point.
I think you're going to spend a ton of money on DJ Moore next offseason. You're going to have to pay him, and you hope that DJ Moore is going to be here for many years. Hopefully they do draft Rome Odunze, and you can find some sort of an agreement with Keenan Allen, and then you're set going forward. I don't want a headache in the building, and hopefully these are your guys, and that Keenan Allen's the perfect transition receiver.
Well, think about this as well, okay? Why was he made available in Buffalo? Yes, they had some salary cap issues, but they were done with it, right?
He was a headache.
Why do you believe the Houston Texans decided to void the last 3 years of his contract and allow him to be a free agent at the end of this year?
To make him happy.
To get the best out of him this season.
Year.
And then if he has a really good year and helps take you where you want to go, if you feel like you'd like to extend that relationship, then you can do it. But I believe both of those decisions made by 2 separate NFL franchises had something to do with his personality.
Yes, right. And this way now Houston has a very motivated, very engaged Stefon Diggs.
Yes. By the way, like the amount of money, dead cap, that the Bills had to take on was incredible.
Right.
30-something million?
Yes.
Like Houston didn't have to do a lot to get him, right?
And they only saved $3 million, like $3.5 million, by not having him on their team.
Yeah.
So it's like 34 versus 31.
I still believe the Bears gave up more for Chase Claypool, didn't they?
Oh, a lot more, yeah.
For a player that was a lot less established as well. Let's talk about the guy that used to
I'm sorry for taking us down there even for a split
Like a
second.
high
My bad.
second-round pick.
My bad.
which was effectively a first-round pick.
Okay, I didn't mean to open that door. Back to you.
All right, let's talk about the guy who used to throw the football to Stefon Diggs, and that is Josh Allen. His contract is up at the end of the 2028 season, but will he see the end of the 2028 season in Buffalo? We've seen a number of quarterbacks, high-profile quarterbacks at that, be on the move and change teams before their contracts are up, or even significant moves after their contracts are up. Will Josh Allen see the end of 2028 in Buffalo?
Yes.
Isn't his contract count like $60 million against the cap at that point? I think, isn't that like as the contract goes on? I would say yes as well. They'll find a way to manipulate the number on that to make it more digestible. And look, I mean, if history repeats itself, the salary cap's going to continue to go up.
I meant it from a little bit of a different standpoint, though. Will he want out at a certain point? Because
That's
about
a different question.
The Bills now, this is the trimming period for them. And
Yeah, I thought you meant the other way around. Like, will they want to get rid of him? So you're asking, will he
Josh
want...
Allen be the one that wants out of Buffalo?
Boy, that's so hard to tell in 2028. I don't even know who the coach will be. I don't know what the team will look like. That's way too far down the line.
It doesn't have to be in 2028. It could be next offseason.
Right.
I don't think he's.
How many quarterbacks stay the length of their deals?
I don't know,
now?
but they have pretty much. They've catered to him, and for good reason. He's a hell of a player, but they get rid of Stefon Diggs because that becomes an issue.
Do you know
the contract he signed was deserved, but I don't think they've done anything to alienate him. They've changed offensive coordinators too, haven't they? I don't know if that was Sean McDermott or it was at the request of Josh Allen, but I haven't heard any whispers that Josh Allen is unhappy in Buffalo.
He's had 3 or 4 different OCs already?
Yeah.
If you count
Dorsey,
Dable.
he had Dable.
I don't know if he had one before Dable. Was Dable his first?
It's a good question.
But you know who he reminds me of a little bit? And I know Elway went to Super Bowls and lost. But remember, there was always a narrative that Elway couldn't win the big game.
Oh, yeah.
And
that narrative is attached to any really good quarterback who has yet to win a Super Bowl.
And because Mahomes is in the way. And before that, it was Brady in the way. Yeah. So I really believe, and then sure enough, it took Elway all those years until he won the last 2 of his career. Josh Allen is a great quarterback, not a good quarterback. I really believe he's a great quarterback, but a lot of people like to downgrade him because he hasn't beaten Mahomes. But he's great.
Yes, and if people talk about the turnovers, if you factor in the total touchdowns versus the total turnovers, even in a year where you think he's being self-destructive, I believe his touchdown to turnover ratio is still 2-1.
Right, and he reminds me of the way he plays. He reminds me of Elway, where he's a great athlete where he could still run the ball like Elway was able to run the ball.
I compare him to Favre a lot because Favre would do some reckless things, but at the end of the day, when you tallied it all up, he did more good things than bad things and did more to help your team win than things to help your team lose games. So, yeah, I mean, he's a guy that is going to turn it over every now and again, but he's going to get in the end zone with his arm and with his legs.
All right. How about another guy who used to throw the ball to Stefon Diggs, and that is Kirk Cousins. He was on Shaq's podcast talking about a potential number swap with Kyle Pitts.
Do you want to play this, Meller?
It's hilarious. Yeah, so he wanted to switch numbers anyways. So it was like a perfect fit. He's like, I want to switch numbers. You want number 8. This is perfect. I was like, great. And then the league spoke into it. They're like, well, Kyle Pitts has a lot of jerseys that are number 8 with Pitts on the back. You would have to buy every single one.
To you or to Kyle?
Both of us would have to just write the check.
How big?
It was several $100,000.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not writing that check.
So I was like, I'm good with 18. And Kyle's like, I'm good with 8. So we're going with 8 and 18.
Is it fair that the NFL, and every league actually this happens, but is it fair that you have to buy out the NFL shop to change numbers?
I think it's silly. I mean, who cares? I don't think that either of them should be forced to pay anything for wanting to change their numbers just because jersey sales, you've sold a bunch of jerseys to some kid.
Well, let me ask you this. When the Bears traded Justin Fields, did the Bears have to buy out all the Bears number 1s? What happens then?
No, they go on clearance. So the NFL can still salvage whatever money they can on the jerseys that they've already reproduced or produced.
So why is it up to then the players? Why do the players pay the penalty?
I don't know.
In this instance, like the teams can get rid of the players and nothing happens. But if the players want to change numbers, why do the players have to take on the bill? That's stupid.
This is absurd to me. This is
Not
crazy.
to mention, like, I don't know, like if you've ever tried to go online and order a custom made like the top of the line NFL jersey, that's most replicable to the NFL jerseys. It's not like they're in stock. Like they have to produce them. It takes like usually a month for them to fulfill the order and get it to you because they're not just sitting in a storage locker somewhere. They actually produce them if they're the authentic jersey. So like, are we talking about like the knockoff, not even knockoff, but like the lower level version, which is just produced in mass that isn't even that expensive?
I don't know. It's
How
dumb.
about this? When you buy a jersey, maybe we'll just put, a disclaimer on it that says, hey, big fella or little lady, there may be a chance that the person you bought this jersey to, represent may have to decide to change their number. And if that's the case, we're not buying this piece of you-know-what back from you. That's your decision.
These are the ones that aren't sold. Talking about.
Right, and I'm not paying for those either.
Well, I remember this was another story when Anthony Davis was traded to the Lakers. LeBron, I think, was looking at changing his number at the time from 23 to 6. And the NBA, I believe, had to go to LeBron and say, hey, don't do this, because they had just moved over to Nike, and I think Nike also got involved with it too and said, don't do this. We're going to get screwed on a lot of merchandise here. Wait it out for a year. We'll basically stop making them, and so we can sell out as many as we can and then make the switch.
How many Kyle Pitts jerseys are there that aren't in circulation yet that would have to be purchased?
Well, they said it would have cost them both hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so
I mean,
I would
authentic jerseys cost what, $400?
I would suggest to you that this is a gesture. If in fact the league made this rule, it's a gesture that the team should actually pick up and cover the cost, not the players. It's a stupid rule.
Yes, of course.
Everything about it is dumb.
You know what else is dumb is those Major League Baseball New Jerseys. I went to Dino's the other day to go buy Braxton a Cubs jersey because he's a Cubs fan now, and I wanted to buy him a Bellinger jersey. Dean showed me this year's version of
last
it,
year.
and they still had one remaining Bellinger jersey from last year.
You should have bought that one.
I did.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's what
Good
I
call.
did.
Good call.
I got the last year's version.
Good.
And do you know how much better it looks?
Significantly better.
It's way better.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Boog was ripping it on the Cubs broadcast the other day, the font. It looks like a Little League jersey.
And not just the font. How about, several teams, you can see the pitcher's underwear on the mound.
I know you've been infatuated about that.
What?
All right.
What was the old taunt to the pitcher back in?
We need a pitcher, not a belly
itcher.
itcher.
Yeah.
That one?
Real quick, I do want to ask you guys about that Dodgers fan who some say was strong-armed by the Dodgers into not giving them the Shohei baseball here. Now, what should be the protocol? For those who don't know, the fan who caught Shohei's first Dodger home run, auction houses have valued that ball at around $100,000. And like Jesse was saying, they split the husband and wife. It was the wife who actually got the ball, and they separated them when they
It's an
basically
interrogation.
But what should be standard protocol in terms of an offer from a team to someone who catches a historic ball like that?
You have to meet the player one-on-one. You have to get a meet and greet. You have to. Even if it's a picture, and it's not like a picture through the wall of the boss, through the window of the boss. It's a Curb Your Enthusiasm reference from this weekend.
It was so good.
But you have to get a quick meeting, and you have to get some autograph stuff. But you have to accept. You have to let them accept. They have to accept. It's their baseball now.
That was part of the issue, too, was that the Dodgers were not going to authenticate the ball if they didn't sell it. This is all allegedly what was going to happen. If they were to keep it, the Dodgers wouldn't authenticate it, and without them authenticating it, the ball's basically worth nothing.
So they were twisting the arm in a number of directions.
Yeah, they were making sure that Shohei got that ball.
It is weird though. If you go to an NFL game and the football lands in the field, don't you have to pass the football back? And if a basketball ends up in the stands, you have to pass the basketball back. But in baseball, we all get to keep the baseball.
How many basketballs are made available for an NBA game?
I'd say an average of 3 basketballs end up in like the stands in like courtside seats a game. Or do you think more? Do you think
No,
more?
you're asking how many are available?
No, how many, like when you roll the rack out, it was like, play ball. How many basketballs?
I think there are only like 2 game balls.
Yeah, I think Sylvie's right. Yeah,
Two?
for
That
because
are
they
approved?
They don't really lose the basketballs. They
No,
pretty
I
much
know. I
deflate
just didn't
either.
know if, like, I don't know.
I think there are 2 game balls, and the rest are like just shooting balls.
Well, that's why if one goes in the stands, you got to give it back. Football has they've relaxed that in football, haven't they?
They probably charge the players in their paycheck
they do.
at the end of
If
the.
a player I guess if a player throws like after celebrating, I guess you get to keep it.
Yeah, but I'm saying the NFL probably charges the players.
they do.
They do, yes. They fine them.
And
Yeah,
those
because-
balls are, I mean, for an NFL player, they're not expensive, but they're not like an inexpensive football
What are we
either.
doing? What are we doing with some of these?
Yeah, the NFL, like, listen, they have a tight ledger and they are keeping track of every last cent.